She gave him everything, every single time. The dinners, the loans, the tuxedo, the credit card, and every single time, he took it, without hesitation, without guilt, without once reaching into his own pocket. Kendra Johnson thought she was in a relationship. She was not. She was being used by a man so comfortable taking from women that he did not even bother to hide it. And when Judge Judy Scheindlin finally looked at him and asked one simple question, "Did you ever take her out for dinner?" his answer said everything that needed to be said. Kendra Johnson was 23 years old, an accounting clerk, careful with money, responsible, the kind of person who kept receipts, which is the only reason this story exists at all. She had met DeVario White at work. He was charming, attentive, the kind of man who knew exactly what to say to make a woman feel like she was the only person in the room. What he was not was someone who paid for anything, ever. It started with a cell phone. August, 2 months into dating. DeVario told Kendra his cell phone had been cut off. He could not afford to turn it back on. He lived with family. She could not call him there. There was no other way to reach him. Kendra Johnson looked at this man she had been dating for 2 months and gave him $100. She did not hesitate. She did not ask questions. She just gave him the money because she cared about him, and he said he needed it. The cell phone was never turned on. A reasonable person would have walked away at that point. Kendra Johnson was not yet a reasonable person, not where DeVario White was concerned. September came. He took her to a restaurant, a place he knew, a place he had been before, a place he called romantic. They ate, they danced, they talked. When the bill arrived, Kendra reached into her bag for her credit card. She handed it to DeVario. He walked to the register. He paid the bill. He signed the receipt. He did not sign his own name. He signed hers. She found out later, not that night, later, going through her receipts the way careful people do, the way accountants do, the way someone who keeps records because they were taught that records matter. She found the receipt, looked at the signature. It was not hers. DeVario White had forged her name on a credit card slip in a restaurant he had chosen on a date she had paid for. A reasonable person would have called the police. Kendra Johnson was not yet a reasonable person, not where DeVario White was concerned. She invited him to a wedding, October, a friend's wedding, a beautiful occasion, the kind of event you want to share with someone special. Kendra asked DeVario to be her escort. He said yes. They went together to be fitted for a tuxedo. She paid the deposit. The day of the wedding, she called him. He needed a haircut first. She waited. She picked him up. He had not picked up the tuxedo. The wedding was 20 minutes. "I don't have any money," he told her. "If you want me there, you need to pay for the tux." She paid for the tux. They arrived late because of the haircut, because of the delay, because of everything that was always someone else's fault and never his. Kendra Johnson never got to walk down the aisle as an escort at her friend's wedding because the man she had brought as her date needed a haircut more than he needed to be somewhere on time. The relationship ended, as it was always going to end. Not with an apology, not with repayment, with silence. DeVario White simply stopped calling, stopped explaining, stopped pretending. Kendra Johnson counted what she was owed, $100. The restaurant bill, the tuxedo, the shoes she had bought for his children. She filed a small claims case, and she walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with every receipt. Judge Judy Scheindlin looked at the file. Then she looked at DeVario White. He was not nervous. That was the first thing she noticed. The kind of man who has done this before is never nervous. He knows exactly what he is going to say. Everything was a gift. She gave willingly. Nobody asked her for anything. Judge Judy had heard this before. She had heard it 100 times in 100 different cases from 100 different men who had sat in exactly that chair and worn exactly that expression. She asked her questions the way she always does, methodically, precisely, without emotion, building toward the one moment that would tell her everything she needed to know. "Mr. White," she said finally. Her voice was even, controlled. "Did you ever take her out for dinner?" Devario White leaned back slightly. "Not really," he said. "No, not really." Judge Judy looked at him. "Did you ever give her any money, here and there? On occasion?" He shrugged. "Like drinks or something, if we went out dancing. But no, not really." He paused. "I am spendo big money on her." The courtroom went quiet. Judge Judy let the silence sit for exactly as long as it needed to. Then she said, "You must be absolutely wonderful." It was not a compliment. Anyone who has watched Judge Judy Shineland for more than 5 minutes knew exactly what those words meant. They meant, "You have told me everything I need to know about who you are." She turned to Kendra Johnson. "Miss Johnson, these were not loans. You gave him money because you wanted to. You paid for dinner because you chose to. You bought the tuxedo because you decided to. None of that makes him responsible for paying you back." She paused. "But I want you to hear something very clearly." She looked directly at Kendra. "He never took you out for dinner. He never gave you money. He forged your credit card. He made you late to your friend's wedding because he needed a haircut. And you kept going back. That is not his fault. That is yours." The courtroom was silent. Not because Judge Judy had been cruel, but because she had said the thing that nobody else was willing to say. Case dismissed. Kendra Johnson walked out of that courtroom without the money she had come for, but with something more valuable. The exact words, spoken clearly, on the record, in front of everyone, of what had actually happened. Not her version, not his version. The truth. He never spent money on her. He never took her out. He never gave her anything. And she kept giving anyway, until the day she finally stopped. Devario White walked out the same way he had walked in. Not nervous, not ashamed. The kind of man who was always known that charm is cheaper than dinner. He was right, until the moment Judge Judy looked at him and said 5 words that no amount of charm could answer. "You must be absolutely wonderful." He had no response for that. Some things are not a question. They are a verdict.